Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends. Welcome to a monster analysis on Urtikus. So this monster is interesting because it is the newest and latest breeding joker. That's right, we have Galante, we have Violet, we have Galante Jr., and now we have a new breeding joker. And when I first saw this monster, I figured it would be another magic monster, but it's actually a nature monster. Which is interesting because I'm wondering if SocialPoint is going to do a breeding joker for every element, this monster being the first of it. I guess we'll find out. So like always, I'm going to start by reading the intro and then we'll go into the actual analysis. So, Galante had been feeling ill for a few months now and noticed his extraordinary breeding powers were at an all-time low. That explains the super low percentage to get legendary monsters whenever there's a breeding event. He tried to pretend that everything was okay for a while, but eventually decided that it was time to look for a solution. He was introduced to Gretchen, a witch who supposedly had potions for any problem. She told him she could indeed help him, but it would take some time. After a couple of months, he went back to her cottage to pick up his potion. She welcomed him and told him to follow her into the back garden, where his potion was cooling down. The potion let off a pink glittery smoke, the smell of chocolate. Galante breathed it in and said, "Great work, taking this will be much nicer than I thought. Now pack it for me and I'll be on my way. Now pack it for me and I'll be on my way." "Sure," replied Gretchen, "pay me 5,000 gems. I'll check there at the all here and we'll seal the deal." "Excuse me," Galante unpleasantly said. Galante unpleasantly. "Do you know who I am?" "Oh dear, I couldn't care less who you are and I don't work for free. Also, you don't look like you're doing too well with your current power," said Gretchen as she burst into laughter. I mean, with all the times we've sped up breedings and everything, I'm sure Galante has those 5,000 gems. Galante took her words as an insult and rapidly jumped to attack her. Oh! She returned to attack swiftly, but in the middle of this quarrel, one of Galante's skills knocked over the cauldron and spilled the potion all over the garden. Gretchen screamed, "Look what you've done, you fool! It took me months!" But before she could finish the sentence, the ground started shaking, it broke apart, and a massive, monstrous rose was born from it. Gretchen and Galante looked at it, both petrified. The rose pulled its roots out of the soil and, without even the glance at the frozen spectators, walked past them and made its way into the forest. After a minute or so, Gretchen finally broke the silence and said, "You said you were here because our community needed more breeding power? Well, there it goes. That's the embodiment of breeding power. Watch out, it might even eclipse you." Roaring with laughter, she went into her cottage, leaving the confused Galante alone in the garden. So I guess that explains how we got a brand new breeding joker. But yeah, again, I feel like maybe this might be the start of breeding jokers in every element, so that when SocialPoint does breeding events, they can do like exclusive elements with the breeding joker. So now you're gonna have to get more of them. So with that being said, fortunately for this breeding joker, there seems to be an event going on where it might not be too hard to get this monster. So at least at the time this video was recorded, maybe during this event you were able to get the monster. If you are new to the game and you're watching this video in the future, well then I hope there's an easy way to get this monster. With that being said, let's jump right into the analysis. So Urtikus, again, is a nature monster. This monster boasts a life of 39,208. That's pretty darn high in the nature category. It's the 7th highest. The only monsters that have a higher life stat are Sergeant Hothead, Fatid, Rebulius, Yedra, Tritopog, and Oikawa. And then the power stat, 3652. This is officially the strongest monster, the strongest nature monster in the game. This power stat is stronger than Bajork, who was previously the strongest nature monster, who had a power stat of 3608. And even in terms of all the legendary monsters in the game, this is one of the higher power stats. Insanely powerful, super huge tanky life, and then a speed stat of 3465. That's a pretty decent speed stat. In the nature category, it's tied with Yedra, Nadia the Pyromancer, and Guava Juice. So overall, stats-wise, pretty darn amazing. And then we move on into the traits, and this is where things become even better. At rank 0, you get Anticipation. So no surprise there, right? I've been saying for a lot of time now that just about every new monster has a way to counter extra turners, so extra turners aren't as valuable as they used to be. Especially because right now we have a Legends Pass that released a Fire Voltic, but now we have a nature monster with Anticipation. And we got a ton of monsters, right? We got RZ Ronin, we just got a bunch of them. And then at rank 1 it's Bleed Immunity, which in my opinion isn't that great. And then at rank 3 you get Control Immunity, and this is funny because I also mentioned that for some reason it feels like they're releasing more Hukuai-like monsters, right? We have Ugluk, we have PZ Ronin, there's another one that is escaping me, but it's like we have all of these Hukuai-like monsters. So let's see if this monster does have... Oh yeah, I glanced real quick. Thorn Shot. 60 damage, 0 cooldown, 0 stamina cost from tier 2. So Hukuai like skill, Hukuai is 70 damage, so I'm going to be comparing this monster a lot to Hukuai. So yeah, just because anticipation control immunity. The only thing though is that you do need to get this monster to rank 3. From what I can tell, he's not a Forsaken monster or anything, so you can easily rank up with Nature Cells if you have them, if you didn't waste them all on Grakon. So, with that being said, this monster can hold double sword relics, so making him pack a punch. Again, comparing to Hukuai, Hukuai can actually resurrect with Uriel's Essence. Comparing them to the other Hukuai-like monsters, Ugluk and PZ Ronin, I don't really think I need to make those comparisons now, to be honest, because the important thing now is that we have a nature monster that can counter. So if you're in a nature war and you're fighting Prince Charmless, right, you can't bring a Hukuai because Hukuai is water, but now you have a counter to Prince Charmless exclusively in the nature category. So that's pretty cool, right? And he's in the family's book too, so if you don't have a Marquise to counter Charmless, you'd be able to bring this monster. But yeah, with that being said, let's talk about the skills. Thorn Garden deals moderate nature damage to all enemies. You have a 30 damage AoE spammable attack because it has no cooldown. It only costs 22 stamina. Crazy Roots, 50% chance of applying stun to all enemies. 0 damage, 1 cooldown. I'm not a fan of that because it likely won't land. Look at My Eyes deals heavy nature damage to one enemy. Applies immunity to Nightmare to one enemy. Wait, why? Applies immunity to Nightmares to one enemy. Why would you give the enemy nightmares? I guess the advantage of this is that it's nature damage, so in a situation where you're facing someone where you have the elemental advantage against, you would want to run Look at My Eyes, because then you'd have a nature-based attack that you could utilize. Especially because we've been seeing some monsters that can apply random weaknesses to the enemies, right? So there might be some reason to use that skill. Moving on to tier 2, we have... Oh, also, if you're facing a warmaster remntar, where your special attacks can't deal damage, this is where you're going to want that nature-based attack. Alright, preparing for St. Valentine applies double damage to itself, applies evasion to itself, requires cooldown. So simple setup skill that will grant you double damage. Let's see. And evasion, which is good. Death Petals deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies shock to all enemies. 40 damage AoE that also shocks. Shocks, keep in mind, will prevent extra turn skills from the enemy monsters. Thorn Shot deals very heavy special damage to one enemy, 60 damage, 0 cooldown, 0 cost. Again, Hukuai-like skill, 10 damage less, but you do have a higher power than Hukuai, so maybe that justifies it, so might be better. Let's keep going. Nightmares Before Love deals heavy nature damage to all enemies, applies bleed to all enemies, applies nightmares to all enemies. Nice. Do you guys realize that because this monster can apply AoE nightmares, you can actually run Nishan Sword on this monster? So not only is this monster packing a punch, dealing extra damage with Nishan Sword, you're also draining stamina, so in a way you can also deny. So for example, if the enemy monster, deny monster, did an extra turn skill to begin with, and you do your Nightmares Before Love, and you drain enemy stamina. That's crazy. I like that this monster can hold sword, double sword at that, and can apply nightmares and bleed. So the nightmares and bleed, that takes away a good chunk of HP from the enemy, and then the skill itself is powerful. So that's cool. And then also, like, looking at this monster's stamina cost, it's very, very low for all of the skills. Let's keep going. Horror Flower deals moderate special damage to one enemy, applies stun to one enemy, applies shock to one enemy, requires cooldown. So the advantage of this is that single targeting, so you'd be able to stun effectively one enemy monster, so useful for dodge area monsters. And then you also shock, so again preventing extra turns from that one monster you target. And then Rotten Axe removes positive effects from an enemy, deals massive nature damage to one enemy, requires cooldown. 70 damage, here's your 70 damage attack. It does have a one-shot cooldown, however it also costs no stamina. So even if you got your stamina drained, you have a skill you could use. You actually have 3 different skills you can use if you were ever at 0 stamina, one of which has a one-shot cooldown, but that's fine. It also packs a heavy 70 damage punch and removes positive effects. So it doesn't matter what the enemy monster has, whatever shield, evasion, what be it, you're good to go. And actually, that sentence removes positive effects from one enemy. I was going to mention that's why I'm not a huge fan of setup skills. Like, for example, preparing for St. Valentine applies double damage, applies evasion. Normally, like, cool, I get double damage and evasion. But since skills now are just removing positive effects, normally before they do anything else, like, you would lose both your evasion and double damage. So I feel like in the future we're going to have a positive effect that can block. I mean, I guess we kind of have it, right? Protect positive effects. So I feel like in the future, more support skills are going to have applies double damage, applies evasion, applies protect, positive effect. Because that's the only way we can counter, removes positive effects, which every new monster tends to have a skill like that. So, overall, just looking at this monster briefly, you're going to be running Rotten Axe for sure. You're going to be running Nightmares Before Love. You're going to be running Thorn Shot, and you're going to be running Horror Flower. So, all of tier group 3, and then, what did I say? You're going to be running all of tier group 3, and then you're going to be running Thorn Shot from tier group 2. Pretty straightforward monster. You don't need the crazy roots. You don't need Look at My Eyes, right? Unless, no, you really don't. Unless that situation, like I mentioned, where having that spammable skill comes in handy. But, I mean, you have Rotten Axe to work with. But, straightforward monster, very powerful. Again, he's another Hukoi-like monster. I'm pretty sure we're going to start seeing it in every single element. Anticipation, Control to Immunity, and then something else. Overall, I like the monster a lot. Let's look at the ultimate. This flower is for you. Remove positive effects from all enemies. Deals very heavy special damage to all enemies, applies stun to enemies, and shock. So an upgraded version of one of his previous skills we talked about. Now you target everyone, deal damage, shock, stun. I mean, yeah, just a powerful monster. The best part about this monster, again, is the fact that you can actually rank him up with elemental cells, Elementium. So you have yourself a very powerful monster that isn't Forsaken, that you don't need to spend an arm and a leg for. So go out and get him. That would be my advice to you guys. Just like Hukoi, you run them with strength, you run them with 1 speed at most, or 1 team speed at most, but you can go triple strength, you can go 2 strength. He is a powerful monster. With that being said, I'm Armor Gaming, this has been my analysis, and now I want to hear from all of you guys. Let me know what you think about him in the comments below. Thank you very much, and I will see you all next time.